This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is August 28th, 2023. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Seeing Every Entry and Every Target Ahead of Time. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that's said and done at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars I have, the live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, I don't see any, so let's go ahead and we'll show a chart here. Now I'm going to show this black chart first because there are new people in the room all the time. Okay, so basically what I see right now, of course, this is kind of in an uptrend, right? At least at this moment anyway. But you do have some areas of concern. See this where they kind of tagged around this 8004 area. So I would draw a line right in through here. And I forgot to change that. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and change that. Let's just do a yellow one, so that way it'll be good on the other chart too. Where'd my yellow go? We'll save that as our template. All right, so I'd be watching this area right here for a break, right? You would simply draw a box in this area right here, kind of like so, okay? So if it breaks, kisses and rolls, you could short it. Now, if it does happen to head up instead, you've got resistance right up here at 38 to 42, so I'm going to draw it at 42, okay? So basically, right at this very moment, you're just in a range. Now, this is what my son was actually trading this morning before I even got up, okay? And what I want to show you is how you can diagnose this and actually see that entry and basically set your target and everything, okay? I'll show you something that I'm going to add to my own personal charts. I'm going to add a third fib, and the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to have one that's longer term, okay? So basically all you would need to do that would be to hit your indicator and go down and go to your auto fib. And we'll go ahead and add one, and instead of basically your boxes being, you know, these colors like this right here, you could actually make your text color like, let's say we'll just do like red, and then we'll make the box like yellow. And this might be for a longer, you know, term type of setup. Okay, so we'll put a horizontal alignment of about 10, box width of about 70, and the height of the box about, let's say 40. That may be too big, but we'll see. All right, and then I've got a third fib right here, so I can actually click it, and that's a little bit, we'll change the colors in there real quick too. Bear with me a second on that, because I want to show you how good this can be, especially if you're used to waiting for good retraces and things like that, okay? So let's see here, we're going to do, instead of red text color, let's see here. We need to do the opacity of the box a lot more, like maybe 100. And we'll do the text as, well, we could do it like even in the navy. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's good. All right. And we could even change the size of our font and everything like that. Well, the two I already have is just simply so that you know which way you're doing your fib. Okay, so for instance, this will be like a longer term fib. So see, I could actually draw a line, for instance, with this big thrust, a pullback would be right there at 38%, okay? Give or take, you know, a few ticks possibly even. So you gotta be careful. If you short this, you're probably gonna bounce off that 38%. This is actually where beautifully I went long at 70. my son went short. I think he went short at like '07, and I'll show you the trade, but I'm going to show you how it was actually done so that you can actually diagnose these on your own charts. But see how this is actually a longer term. And then I could also do like my regular fib. Let's go from this little area here and see that gives you, an idea of what this little thrust up and pullback would be if it decides to head up instead of down. Okay, so you could kind of have two fibs on your chart if you wanted to. Okay, I'll go ahead and get rid of that one for right now. Okay, so basically what you want to do is you want to diagnose your chart. It's very, very important. If you're in a big uptrend, you got to be careful with shorts and you're going to scalp them. Okay, because if you don't scalp them, you're going to end up giving up some of your coin when it bounces in your face. Because that much of a thrust, see, overnight and from even this was yesterday and this was Friday, that was a pretty big uptrend, wasn't it? See, all the way to there. And all it's done since then is this right here. See, but it's never checked that 38% either. So as traders, the way we like to trade personally is just like I said there. See, you have a lower high here. Okay, that's what my son was looking at. He saw this support level here and this support level here. This is pretty important right here. So basically just got ready to short it. Okay, because you were trying to get down to that, like that 38% right there on that pullback. Now let me show you on the actual charts what you're seeing, because you got to be able to see this in real time. Okay, because if you can see this in real time, you're going to be able to make those decisions and be on the right side of the trade, at least for a good scalp. Okay, so let me show you the actual chart. See, here's your actual chart right here. And he wasn't even up at this point. So let's go ahead and let this thing play out a little bit. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that instead. And bear with me a second. That's gold. Let me get oil. Let's do oil. Let it go ahead and load. All right. So everybody see that? Okay, you have a 1, 2 with a lower high and even a lower low right here. See that right there? So if you're even a conservative trader, when you see a 1, 2, 3 and you box this in, for a short, for instance, there's your target. So is that a 10 tick trade if it does get down there? And if you do your 38% on your move, you actually saw that it had never even checked it yet. So see, there's your 38% right down there. But when they get to that, you want to be ready to bounce that thing. That's literally why I went long at 70 and he went long, or pardon me, short when it broke this area right here. I think if I remember talking to him, he got short at 7. So he actually faded this a little bit. But he faded it because he saw a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. And then he saw this kind of cratering over. So he probably said, I'll just take that if it breaks like close to this mid band. And if you were trading this morning, you'll see that he was actually right, because the trade actually did. I'll just fast forward this a little bit just so you can see it. See, now keep in mind, you got your box already drawn, but you can actually get in this thing a little bit earlier than that too. See where this is getting like a 1, 2, 3, even where it's getting lower highs even here. See it? See how this is right down in this area right here? Now, that is not a phantom that you would want to take long. This was the phantom you wanted to take long. That was at 4 o'clock in the morning. First time into phantom after a trend change. Okay, but look what actually happened to that trade. I'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit more. See there? Now let me ask you a question. Did this actually go back? I'll explain the phantom trade, Mike, on your question, because phantom trades are very, very important with Viper trading systems, and I'll go over those in detail for you, okay? But see how you had this 1, 2, 3. So what's the definition of a downtrend? You're getting a high, a low, some kind of a lower high, right? And then you're getting a lower low. So once they do that, you're pretty much saying, okay, if you even retrace at all, I'm boxing you in, because if you break this, you're heading down. See what I mean there? Can't see the time at the bottom. The time was, this was at 6 o'clock in the morning right here. This is where he had already gotten his short, and I was getting ready to get my long if it bounced off this area right here. So I had a line drawn on my chart, and it did actually go down a little bit lower. Watch what it actually did. But I diagnosed this thing, and so did he. And it just turns out that he had short and I had a long, but at different times. Okay, so let me just go ahead and go 500 times again. See what that actually did right there? See how it's kissing that support right there? It came really, really, really close to this 38%. Not quite, didn't quite get it. But let me ask you a question. Can you take a trade like right through here when it actually does bounce, goes back up through your support that was now resistance? And could you say, you know what? If you even break this little area like through here again, could I go ahead and take that trade to the long side? Or you can wait for it to break and come back and give you a higher low, either way. Okay. So basically, if you were in the room this morning, I had this drawn in the room, and then we got a nice trade, but I'm going to go over that trade for you too. But does everybody see that you could still take this long through here because all it did is check support? Because if you don't look at all four trends, you're going to end up missing the good shorts on the smaller trend, but you're also going to miss the bounce on the bigger trend. Okay, because even though this was red, this still bounced off of this pretty much close to a 38%. And it may have even come on down. Let's see if it did a little bit. Just fast forward a little bit. See, that was as much as it went. I got in that trade at 70, and I thought I might have made a mistake because it came down and almost checked me. Okay. But the beauty of that was that you got this trade literally right in through here. See how that does? Do you have to do all this manually? Yeah, Mike, on your question, basically, now we do have a semi-auto function on our charts that you can turn on and do, for instance, if you want to add some contracts to a trade, something like that, you certainly can. To give an example, let's just go ahead and put Object Trader on. We missed the trade because I was trying to explain it to you. But let's just go ahead and turn on our little tool called auto region. Now this is an error that you're going to get on the newest scripts. The reason for that is because this is showing that I had Object Trader on the same account on the same instrument. Okay, so you're going to get this error, and it's not an error, it's actually just telling you that, hey, you've already had Object Trader on your chart. So what you have to do, see where it says if this is an error, press cancel to unlock and restart Object Trader. So you hit cancel, then you go back into Object Trader, and it should load on the chart. If it doesn't, we're going to have to remove the folder. See how it loaded on the chart now? So all you have to do is hit that cancel button. Okay, now like I said, I actually got in this one at 70 this morning, but let's just go ahead and take this. If it breaks the little box, you can use your region auto, hit insert, and there's your little box. I usually like to do touch, and with something like that, you just simply wait for it to break the box. And keep in mind that we do have features on here that will somewhat trade in auto. You can simply turn this on auto. Say you want to do only, well, since we got in late, let's just do 2 contracts. So the most it'll do is 1 and then 1 more, which is 2. So if this actually triggers that box like that, it will go ahead and take the trade. If it touches again, it does again. If I change this to 3, it'll even do a third one as soon as it touches the top of that box. See there? So you do have that auto feature in Object Trader. Now what I did this morning, instead of region auto, I just used this. I used bar close, and we'll just go ahead and do a 4th one. It's no big deal. If a bar goes up, it'll actually fire a fourth contract by simply bar close up. Bar closes down, it won't fire it. See, it fired it. There's 4. Okay. So the beauty of trading this like this is that you can get some of these nice trades like this. And by the way, once you see a little bit of profit on your P&L, just go ahead and take a couple of them off, because if you don't, you'll end up giving it back real quick. So I usually take a couple off like that and then ride runners. Okay. Now, let me show you. I'm going to show you the trade that actually set up in the room. And if you were in the room today, you heard it called in real time. So bear with me a second. I'm going to pause the screen and I'm going to fast forward this to 7:47. But I'm going to look at the black chart with you, and then you tell me where the trade is. Okay, so let me fast forward it first. Okay, we're pretty much at it right here. Everybody see that? All right, so let's get rid of our autofill. We don't need it because it was filled in perfectly. But see this little trade right here? What you want to do when you see these little thrusts like this and pullbacks, if this thrust doesn't take out this top and you keep retracing, you really want to get around a 61 or better %. So what I normally do when I'm looking at this little thrust right here, see that lightning 3 right here? I take the trade from a 61 area. Now see, that's a 50, okay? We didn't take that in the room there. I was calling the, basically the disclaimer and everything. But when it gets down to that 61 and that 76 right here, without taking this out, see the swing, thrust, retrace, thrust, this is actually your stop if this thing's going to decide to still go up. Everybody sees that, right? Okay, because you're going to a lot of times get an A, B, C, and then bounce with a higher low. That's what they normally do. Okay, now you can also use another tool that we've got called the trend line trader, which is actually the wedge trade. And with this one, you just simply draw your trend line, and you might even go across that top like that. So if it does take that top out by a couple of ticks or so, you could go ahead and take a trade too. But I don't personally like them off of a 50 on that small of a move. That is not conducive to making money in your account. This is much closer to the trade, and this is much closer to the trade right here. Now we do have another feature. Instead of the wedge feature, you can also use the right click trade. So put one, like let's say we wanted to do one contract here by market if touched, put another one here by market if touched, okay? And then we would actually watch our stop. Now keep in mind, if we're gonna head up, you don't have to put your stop all the way down here, because the whole idea of a higher low and a higher high is it's going to get a higher low if it's gonna head up, okay? So for instance, if you get in this trade like right through here or here, you don't have to keep that stop all the way down here. You just have to kind of watch your, well, I like even this fib to give an example. From here, see your ABC type move, and you might want a 61. See that 61 right there? And you might want a 50 on that one, because that is a good size move then. See what I mean? In other words, thrust is small, no 50s. Thrust is big, 50 is okay with me. Okay, thrust is much bigger, 38's okay with me. Okay, the stop loss mic is actually set right here. I'll just show you how you can do the trade. Let's just go ahead and let it fire, because I called this in the room this morning, said to box it in. We'll just let it ping around for just a minute. See there, that triggered one, that was at 50%. If it comes a little bit deeper, it'll trigger the next one, because we boxed this in the room this morning right here, right in this little area right there. Everybody remember that? And remember what it actually did? Now this trade was called live, but it was diagnosed in real time, okay? Let's see, I don't understand why you had 2 fibs up top. What's the second one? Well, David, on your question, what I personally like to do is I will check a fib even on, like, let's say for instance, this has been going up, but if you look to the left to trade the right, there's probably some higher highs before, but not today, so that's good. So you could start a short fib from here and know where this could retrace to before it kind of rolls back. See, like let's say if you started your fib here on your short side, and this kind of tells you that on this kind of a thrust retrace, they may hit their head at this 50%. See how predictors even saying they might? Now, it doesn't mean they obviously will, but you can actually use a second set of fibs for that. We used to even do fib clusters, but those confuse the daylights out of me, so I don't use those. I just like to, if it's heading up, I use the up fib. If it's heading down, I use the down fib. Okay. So this trade was called this morning, but I want to show you what trades do. And you don't want to just get out of a trade simply because it comes back in the box unless you've actually got a swing that it also takes out. Okay. Because this swing right here, see, you had a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. You can draw that with lightning 3. See there? So that's your swing, and this is telling you they're heading up unless they take this out. Everybody see that? Okay, so when I call a trade like this, and if somebody, let's say for instance that this goes back in the box, okay, and it did, I remember it, and see it coming back in the box. See there, coming back in the box like that, okay, but notice how all it did is check the support. So I'll stick with a trade like that, okay, because if you don't stick with a trade like that, with these little 4-range bars, they're gonna check you. There's just not a question about it. Will they always check you? No. That's probably the hardest part of trading, is to for sure know if they're going to check you, because you don't know it by any indicator out there. This was just simply at the open and they pinged around a few minutes. But if a person went out of this box and got long, you never got 10 ticks. Okay, so that trade would have never given you coin, and you did feel roughly, what is that, about 7 ticks of heat. So 2 contracts, you did feel about 140 bucks. Okay. But if this was going to head down, let me just draw what would have happened. You would have had a high. You would have gotten that low. You would have gotten a lower high, right? And then you would have gotten a lower low. Now this would have been telling you that very possibly they're taking it down. Let's say that the price ended up here. Okay. But that's still an uptrend as long as that's intact. Now, if you would have held it all the way to here, and you got in at mid-band, you were holding it about 12 ticks. Okay. Now, if you're doing like 5 contracts at a time or something like that, you probably don't want to hold 5 ticks. I mean, pardon me, 12 ticks. But I would hold this trade any day of the week as long as I'm getting higher lows and higher highs. Okay. Now, don't do it if, let's say that we started the day and this thing had literally gone, to the moon. And instead of, I'm going to do a hypothetical instead. Okay. Let's say that we had gotten in the room and it was already way up here. Okay. And your swing was way down here. No, you don't put your stop way down there then. You look for a pullback, a lower high, and if it takes you out of that high, low, lower high, and lower low, you get out of the trade. Okay, you can't wait for this then. But when you're so close like this, that matter of fact, oil as a rule almost every day does a phantom. And I was thinking, well, they can't do a phantom, they'd have to take the swing out. I even said that in the room this morning. If they do a phantom, they're taking out the swing. So we were expecting it to get a higher low. So the key to trading this, okay, is you want to know exactly where to get in, watch your trade, obviously, but then you also got to know where it's going, okay? Because where this trade is going is the most important in my personal opinion, okay? Because when you get in a trade, and I've gone over this in lots and lots of webinars, but every trade that you get into, you want to get that 1, that 2, and that 3. Once you get those 1, 2, 3s, you got to start watching your trade, okay? And then once you do, you just kind of watch the little zigzag, okay? And the blue power dots, absolutely. Those blue power dots were printing this morning just beautifully. And if a person turned on the blue power dot, which is right here, trend power dots, that would fire 1, 2, 3 contracts. If you had it set on 3. Now, if you had it set on 2, it would only fire 2, okay? But see, let's say, for instance, you get in this trade right here, okay? Just like it was boxed in the room this morning. We want a thrust, a pullback, and another thrust. At least. Now, you may get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You don't know. But you do know that when it gives up the ghost, you're going to get a high, a low, a lower high, and lower lows. Once they break what that is called micro, they will go down and check the more medium swings. Okay. Let's see. Bob says, pain in the tail end seal is always trying to force you out. Pain in the tail instrument. Well, sometimes that's true. I know you like even YM somewhat. You know, CL is not for every single trader out there, but you've got to draw and see your swings, or you really won't be able to trade it that well, in my opinion. I've traded CL now for almost 14 years, and I absolutely love it. But I still, every once in a while, say, you dirty dog, because to me, that's dirty. That came out of that box, and then they came all the way back in it. That's trading. But did they take it out? Did they do a high, low, lower high, and lower low? No. The different color dots, Mike, are, this is called a trend dot, just on a little micro swing, and these are called, or pardon me, these are called power dots, and these are called trend dots. These are a little bit deeper retracement, so they're really pretty good, especially first time in the mid band. This trade right here is probably half of our traders or more go-to trade, because you went from a short, see the mid band is short color, think of red bars as short, think of red midband as short, think of magenta midband as short, think of even rose colored midband as changing to short or changing back to long, either way. But the whole key to it is, once you get a thrust and a pullback, you're expecting this to actually go ahead and bounce at these beautiful midband trades, and they do. And if you check your fibs, they do quite well. Okay, that's why I love these auto fibs right here. Okay, now the next thing you want to do, because we saw the entry, and by the way, this was called live in the room this morning, and if somebody did go in and out, you could have been somewhat hosed. But you want to be careful doing that, because what I do in a case like, if I started with 2 or 3, was if it went up here and then went back in the box, you might take out all but 1 and then add it back when it breaks the top of the box again or something like that, but it even affects you there. So, just hold and grin and bear it, because your stop was literally right there. And you expected it to be higher than that, because again, the definition of an uptrend is higher lows and higher highs, right? Let me see if I can change that color again. But I want to show you the next part of it, which I think is really, really cool. And that is the fact that you can know where the trade's going also. Because for some reason, their algorithms work on these measured moves quite well. Okay, everybody knows what a measured move is, right? Everybody pretty familiar with that? Okay, so what you want to do on like a measured move is yeah, several people are saying they are. So for instance, this little trade right here, thrust, retrace, thrust, this little pullback right here, I would say thrust, retrace, thrust. So this is where I'd pretty much be looking to take some profit. And that would be like that, like this, and like that. See, because what are you expecting when you're trading like this? You're expecting higher lows and higher highs, right? So a measured move will get you to where you can make some decent money. I want to show you how this actually does work, okay? Just fade it just a little bit, okay? Put your little fade like that right there, all right? And see if those measured moves don't absolutely work out most of the time. I want to show you something here because we traded this morning. See how it went back in the box even again? I would even add another contract myself if I was trading that. A little late there, but see what I mean? You could add it out of that box. But look at that measured move right there. Now, it went a little higher than that measured move, but watch it come back when it actually checked that measured move. See how that did right there? So it actually will get you out of a trade at a good spot, okay? Because let's say, for instance, you like to hold a trade, okay? Now, watch what actually happens with your micro trend. Okay, we're already out, so we don't care, right? But I want to show you what happens with your micro trend when they break what's called micro trend. Okay, notice you have a high here, a low. Okay, they're trying to go up a little bit. That's a lower high so far, right? Now, where do you expect this trade to actually end up? Anybody? Well, if it doesn't go ahead and take out that top, it's going to do another measured move, and watch. You can check it both ways. If it doesn't take out that top, it'll probably go down in this area right in through here. See, so you could be ready for another trade if it does. Okay, now if it takes this out, it'll head up. There's no question about that. But then just get in the habit of checking your fibs. You've got a high, a low, a higher high. So this is a Fibonacci. You can do it from this lightning 3 pretty easy. And let's see here. On that small of a move, I expect at least 61 and I expect 70. I don't want to take this out because if they take this out, are they heading up? Okay, so you're ready for that trade, when it pulls back. And what you've got to do is you just got to get ready to take it. Well, this was even a little mid-band trade, but that's not a deep enough retracement for me. I do not like a 38% or even a 50 on that small of a move. Now, they work out sometimes, and I'm sitting there and going, well, probably should have trusted the 50. But watch what happens more than not, though. See, it goes up a little bit. You get a lower high. We watched this in the room this morning, and it stopped us out of our trade that we were in. We were still riding this trade from the beginning, but when it got that lower high and everything, it wasn't heading up anymore. But it's not heading down yet. See what I mean? Now that was a pretty good area to jump in. So that was that 61 I called out. Okay, but if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay, but this was actually right at pretty much market open. And I'm going to stop this for just a minute and I'll show you something. Some of our people like to see, for instance, a high, a low, a lower high, lower low, and then start stair stepping back to the other side. Okay, or if a mid band doesn't work out, and I think Mike was asking this, so I'm going to go ahead and explain what a phantom is, because a phantom is a deep retracement and they happen first time after a trend change for the most part. Let me show you. Okay, right here you went from short midband to long midband, and this is your first time into phantom after a trend change. This is called phantom. When it gets this color background, it's got a midband that's the long color, and we box these in and get these nice trades like that. Okay, that's called a phantom. This is called a phantom right here. This one probably would have scratched on you because you would have taken the phantom right through here. It might have scratched, but you might have gotten 10 ticks too. Okay, I'll show you another phantom. These are beautiful trades. I mean, you can take these trades to the bank. First time in after trend change. See, you're short, you get your first midband. That's a good trade. Okay, you get your first phantom. This is phantom short to line 7 area and line 6. That's about a 10 tick trade. then it changes trends again. You're looking for the long phantom. The long phantom is right here when this background changes and you box this in. Now, it doesn't mean you'd miss this trade. Okay, if you were trading Friday afternoon, you probably nailed that trade. Okay, and does everybody see where you would have taken it and why? Because all you got to do is start drawing your stair steps. Let me show you. You had a low, you had a high, you had a higher low. That's your first inkling that it's changing. Then you had a nice thrust up and it took out the swing. See the swing? So it goes all the way up to here like so, and then you pull back and get a higher low. That is a good entry for a trade right there. Long. Now this is a good short too. This is a phantom, but this is your first sign that that's changing trends right there. Okay. Everybody see that? So when you see this happen, and you'll see me calling these in real time in the room too. If this would have been during room time, we would have nailed that trade because that's what we look for. Also, if you look to the left to trade the right, you'll see on this side of the chart, see if I can get it. There we go. See how you had a low, a high, you had a low, high, higher low. They start taking this area out and also this resistance right through here. They're really not heading down any longer. See there? They pop it and they go. So a lot of our people take those. Okay. Knowing where on your chart to enter a trade is absolutely key to making good money on your trades. And looking at your Fibonacci's. You know, let's go back over here to what's going on right now. Okay. This was just kind of sloppy at mid-band, but if a mid-band trade does not work, in other words, you get a mid-band trade like at a 50% and you go ahead and take it through there and they come out of the box and back in it, you can get out of that trade, but if you even do it at the bottom of the box, you lost about 6 ticks. But you don't go again because you're looking for a deeper retracement. Okay, so then what I normally do is look to the left to trade the right, and I see like a 1, 2, 3, and I draw my fib because they do 1, 2, 3s all the time. So there's a 76% right down here. There's a 61 right here. And you could actually even turn on our little auto trader type feature. Like for instance, just use your little region auto. And I would set it for probably in a case like this so it didn't wick me in a couple of ticks and then turn it on, but only turn it on when it gets down to that area right there. Just be ready to turn it on. Okay. So you'll see what happens on this too. I did call this trade in the room this morning. This actually came down a little bit further and we got a phantom trade on this particular one. And this went a little bit deeper than our phantom. And when they go a little bit deeper than phantom, you still want to box them in. What I will call in the room, let me stop this for just a second. Okay, I paused it. This is called a phantom first time in after a trend change. Okay, so what you're looking for is you really don't want to break this trend that's heading up. Okay, so this is a true phantom first time in after a trend change. So we simply got ready to box that little puppy in, and when it took out the top of the box, you can fire the trade, or you could fire it if that bar goes up even, which is what I like to do. Just turn that on like that, and if that bar goes up, I like to take that trade. If that bar closes up, you're in. That bar closes up, you're in. See there? And then add it again if you wanted to add another one. All that did is check support, and I called that in the room this morning. Now, the reason I called it in the room this morning is because even though we got a red background, see that mid-band right there? That is a yellow mid-band. That is still looking for longs. Now, if this would have broken and came back and kissed and rolled, we would have shorted it, but this is doing nothing but checking support. Okay, so that's why that was called in the room this morning. Now, let's look at a measured move of what's going on so far in crude oil. Okay, let me get rid of lightning. This will kind of show you where you can make some pretty decent money trading, by the way. See this big thrust Okay, so you had a 1, 2, 3. I like to draw a box like so. Comes down to here. Bring this up to there. And lo and behold, this is pretty much your target. Now, will they go up higher than that? Absolutely, they can go higher than that. Okay, but keep in mind that you can stay with the trade as long as they don't give up the ghost. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, let's just go ahead and put a target there. Then we'll look to the left to trade the right, and we'll say, okay, this one would be a measured move, thrust, retrace, thrust. But then look at the overall trend. Thrust, retrace, never took out that high, came low like this. So this is the way I do a measured move on this one. This would be thrust, retrace. You had a lower low here than over here by just a little bit, and then redraw another box. Okay, this is your target on the larger move. Everybody see that? I want to show you that this isn't after the fact type stuff, because you can draw on your charts like this. And I want to show you something right here. We'll just go ahead and go into a little bit faster so that you can see it. Fade it a little bit up here for later on. You got to watch your coin, see how it's getting a thrust retrace. That's what you want. Now, where's your measured move on this little move? Where would you take profit if you had, say, maybe 3 contracts? Let's just add a third one for the fun of it. How about a thrust, retrace, thrust? So you draw another measured move. See your little low, high, higher, low, measured move, higher, high. Look at that. That's right at a swing. So could I now move this up here instead? See, I don't have to, you know, keep my targets where you just go, doggone it. You know, that just took my profit, and look at it go. Because what you want to do is you want to start trading with these moves, and then you want to start looking at these lows and start moving your stop accordingly. You know, like say under here, for instance, and just let the trade do its thing, because trades will do their thing, and you'll see them continually do these measured moves. See that right there? Now we took out all but one, and you've got your other one right up here, and you're thinking, wow, will that ever get up there? Anybody watch this trade today? And I'm doing this based on targets, based on measured moves. And you're going to find that you're going to do pretty good on these measured move setups like this. Okay. Now, if they give up the ghost, will they do this yet? They may do this tomorrow instead. So what do you do if that's the case? Well, you've got a high, you've got a low, you got a lower high so far. So where could you put your stop in this case on this particular chart? Anybody? You put it right up here. What if they don't get up to there? That's your big measured move. They don't necessarily get up there. You got to always look to the left to trade the right, and you say, woo, I'm up. It took out swings, so I'm a happy camper. Okay. But if you've got like an Apex account, to give an example, when you start seeing a high, a low, a lower high, if they do take this out, then you're out of the trade. Okay. If they keep on trucking up, hey, you're a happy camper, and they might do that. And you can also even just bring your stops up under these little green dots too. And if they happen to take them, you take the trade off the table if it does. Kind of topping out a little bit. Predictor said right here anyway. A little higher. It looks like it got you. Okay. So see how that works? That is the way to trade, and trade well. Okay. If you'll check your measured moves, now keep in mind the bigger measured moves you're going to have to be more careful of. Okay, because they're not necessarily going to do a 200 tick move. But you draw it on your chart, because guess what? What about tomorrow? And we'll more than likely have some kind of a thrust retrace where we can check that to see where it is going to go tomorrow. okay? Now, if you were trading this, you're already out of the trade, you might have gotten you a little quick bounce off of that line too. But did that change trends, anybody? That actually did change trends, didn't it? Because it had a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. So that is kind of changing trends right there, okay? Now we do have this feature on Object Trader that's called the trend power dots. And I think I'm going to tweak the algorithm just a little bit on it, because the one area that the phantom trade will not fire on those dots is if it touches line 7. So I'm going to change that to line 8 instead, because I really like those trades that come right up in here and then roll over. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This was actually during the room time, by the way. See, that's pretty much heading down, isn't it? See how our everything changes on our charts? Now let's look at a Fibonacci. Now, would you draw your fib from down here, or would you draw your fib from up here? Well, this is a short now, so I'd draw it from up here. So let's see here. This is a fairly short move, so I would not do a 38 at all. 50, not big enough move, so I'm going to go 61 to 76. And this is where I would pretty much look for this trade right across here, but not higher than here. So right in this sweet spot right there. See how you can do that with your Fibonacci's and everything? Now keep in mind that this could easily just hit midband and roll over too, but I don't like a 38%, not on that small of a move. I will not take those. Now, if you can box them in and get it, that's fine. But if they go out of your box, you got to get out. Okay. So what you could do in a case like this, and you may miss the trade, and who cares, because sometimes you will, you could use like region, put a region way up there, like say at this 61 to 76% right here, but see, you can't go higher than this, so that 76% would be right in that area. And then you could change this to short, like so, maybe put it 1 and put it on auto trade. And then if it does get up there, this would actually fire if it touches that box and rolls. Okay. I could also make it even try to go into the box, because we do have resistance like right here that they haven't really checked. They barely checked it anyway. They checked this one pretty good. See, where they thrust down, retrace, checked it. They haven't really checked. They really didn't check this one again here. So I would think they would. Okay, you got to draw on your charts to see that. Let me see if I'm missing any questions, because we're coming right up on about 12 minutes. You could use region auto also, but what I would do in a case with region auto, I would only turn it on if it got in my little sweet spot. Because if you just left it on, you're liable to feel some heat. You know, for instance, let's see if it does get up at least to our 61. If it doesn't, we don't care. Now see, that's a 38 so far. There's 50, that's pretty good. There you go. That's actually your 61 and 76 right there. So see, the region will fire that like that. Okay. That's why I built the region to begin with. And by the way, that turned into a phantom trade, which I think, I'm pretty sure it was called in the room this morning to begin with, because that was a phantom trade. Why didn't you take this one? Because the fib wasn't right. I don't like a little move like this with a 38% fib. Like that. That's just not a big enough move for a 38% fib. Sometimes they work though, believe me, because I've missed a good trade before myself. But if you boxed it in, it really never took out. Even if it faked you, you got out when it went back in the box. But on that short of a move, I like a 50 at the bare minimum, 61 and even the 76. 61 is my favorite though. I will fire a trade and let it give me that much heat on a 61. Okay. But now if you had a move like this, let's say that you just really dropped like crazy and then you had a 38, I'd take that in a heartbeat because that's a big drop. But that little drop like that, you don't want those 38%. You want to train your mind to see at least 50 and 61s. Otherwise, you're going to feel some heat on some trades because when they have that short of a move, they go to 61s all the time. How can you set up the stop when it touches the box? Juan, on your question, you mean when it touches the box like it did on here? You just set your stop right here. You can even move it with these little arrows. So I can move that. Yeah, you can control your stop. Just you can set it up any way you want it. But see how beautiful of a trade that could turn out to be. Now, where's your measured move on this trade? Anybody? So if you shorted this, would you give up the ghost in just a few ticks? Or would you look for this? This is the key to trading right here. I'm here to tell you. Thrust, A, B, or 1, 2, 3. So why would you give this trade up until they at least come down in this area right here? And maybe even have another one down here or something like that. Look to the left, trade the right. See what I mean? Because otherwise you just give up a trade that can actually do you pretty well. That one stopped us out right there, but would you get back in it with a lower high? I would. Stopped us out again. You little rat stink. We'll go one more time. I've got it doing 100 times, so probably should have moved my stop there. See, because that stop's just too tight right there. See what I'm getting at? So I would probably, if I got in that trade right there, I'd be kind of putting my stop right above here right now. So instead, let's do it one more time, but we're going to move our stop to a swing. See that swing right across there? So that they don't just nick us out of a trade, because you'll give up so much if you do. You know, is that a pretty decent little trade setup? Still, see? And look at it, it's coming down to that measured move. We took it off because it didn't move my target, but you could have. As another little trade right there. That's a mid-band trade. Now this little trade right here, when they stair step the mid-band again, I will take that trade right there. I don't like it as much because if you look at your fib from here, I'll bet that's a 38%. Maybe it might be 50. Yeah, it's 50. So I would take that trade right there. But again, that's one of those that if it did decide to go up, where would your stop be? You'd have to put it at the swing level. Because what's the definition of a downtrend? Well, it's got to get lower highs and lower lows. So that's your swing right there. If you got in here, swings right there, you expect a lower high than that, so you might even put it in the middle of here somewhere. But, you know, that would give you a little bit of heat, but that is your swing. Okay. Now, you don't want to do that when you've got like multiple contracts. Okay. Now, I'll show you something else that you can also do. If you miss this trade right here, you can go ahead and turn on your region auto, hit insert, and if they do take out that little box right there, this will fire those trades. See there like that? You can even turn it on auto, see like that? And it'll just keep firing them for you if you want it to. It's pretty cool. Okay? So basically, you got to kind of know where the trade's at, right? That's the key to trading is these measured moves, thrust, retrace, thrust. They're not going to always hit them exactly, but I can tell you this, that if you take some coin off when they get to these areas, if they don't blow through them, you're doing pretty good. And if you want to stay with the trade period until it gives up the ghost, low, high, if it gets a higher low and takes out that area right there, you would get out of that trade. Let's see if it did. I'm curious. Not yet. Yep, took it out. So you're getting a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high right through here. See that? So then you're flat on your trade, and then you look at your Fibonacci again. Now, are you looking for a long Fibonacci or a short? Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like that swing right here. Let's see what the fib would be on that. Big move down, so I would look for a 38 to a 50. So I would put a region right in this little area right here. And you can actually draw that by simply hitting insert, bring it up to the 50, the 61, and then just simply turn on like your little auto trader. Let's see if that actually triggered. I'm curious. There's one of them. That's a phantom. See how that phantom worked? That's a classic 50 to 61% retracement on that, or pardon me, 50% retracement on a big move. See, because this is not a small move right here. This is a big move from there to there. That's 68 to 78. What is that? 90 ticks, right? 68 to 78. So yeah, you've got 20 ticks. And yeah, that's a huge move. So I will take a 50% on that. You don't want to try to get these big moves, these big fibs on those moves. You won't get it. Okay, but that was a perfect entry right there. And that is a true phantom right there too. Okay. Isn't that cool, those phantoms? They are pretty awesome. By the way, before we wrap, let's just look at the actual data real quick. Hopefully it's not going to give us problems like it did last week. I'm going to disconnect the playback data. We got positions on, so we'll just go ahead and close them. Let's take the playback data off. And hopefully this will go to the live data without doing this playback date. Let's see if it does. Playback's still probably thinking it's connected, so let's go one more time into like Apex. They just don't like to go from playback to a regular account. They just don't. So the best way to do that is actually to start Ninja over. And I don't really want to do that. We're almost out of time to begin with. I can show it tomorrow though, because I'll bet you that even at this time right now, well, I've got another Ninja over here. Let me just put data on it because we haven't been in playback. Let me see what it's at. Yeah, you actually had a phantom trade just a little while ago, and that looks like a 76% retracement on the little thrust. So that would be definitely a good entry. If you've got a chart up, you'll be able to see it. Anybody got that chart up? You should be able to see it because I've got just put live data on that one, and it's showing a good phantom. I wish it would come on this one, but let me just take a minute and I'll hopefully it loads. We'll just start it over and hopefully Ninja will load, and we'll see if we can get Ninja back up. When you go from playback to full Ninja, Apex just doesn't like to load. But I'll restart Ninja and I'll make it load. Okay. Bear with it a second. I'm going to start data. This is Linda's account, so she doesn't care if I start it up. Connection Apex. There we go. All right, let's see if we can get oil. I'm gonna see if you can see that this is actually they're doing the same thing they did the other day. This is weird. When you get out of playback, look at this. This is strange. This is on the 20th. So what you have to do, if you've been in playback mode, see where that says the 20th right there? You got to change that to the 28th. And then let's see if it loads. And there it is. And let's see what our fib was. Let's get rid of that one. So Fibonacci, 76%, pretty much on the money. You got you a little 10-tick trade. Oh, it shouldn't be locked now. It's not locked. See what I was talking about though? This is how you can trade this. Look at this. Now this was actually in the afternoon, but notice at even 1 o'clock in the afternoon, how beautiful you went from short mid bands, see it? Short mid bands to long mid bands. Mid band trade, 10 ticks. Phantom trade, more than 10 ticks. Ratcheted up, mid band trade, 10 ticks. Breaks down a little bit, ABC type move. Where's your short on this trade if it breaks? Anybody? Well, so far you have a 1, a 2, and a 3. Okay, now this is telling you that they're trying to break down. See that right there? But if this holds, that's nothing but a little fake on an ABC. That is a true phantom right there if you boxed it in. Now I don't trade this time of night at all, but that is a true phantom. The way I would box that little puppy, it'd be right across here, about like that. Let's just stick around a second and see if it works or if it craters it. We'll find out. Now that is breaking 1, 2, 3 though, so they could take this down a little bit first. Anytime they break micro and they break that 1, 2, 3, they're liable to head it down, but we'll see what it does here just in a couple of minutes. Does it make a difference which string you use for the fib? How do you pick the swing to use? That comes with a little bit more, just looking at the charts. With 4-range charts, you got to kind of squint your eyes to see the trend. Like I like to personally look for this. I like to look for like a 1, 2, 3, pullback. And then this one here, 1, 2, never really went to a 3. There's your short, by the way, out of your box if you're trading phantom. But with that yellow midband, I don't normally take that. But if this is going to really change trends, it will crook that midband and you will get a trade. Probably be midnight the way this moves so slow this time of day. But this is still a true phantom because it's got a yellow midband on it. This is your line in the sand swing. See your high, your low, your higher high. That's kind of your line in the sand long short right there. So you could be short on it with a few ticks up and you're, making a little bit, but this could also bounce right here because that is a true phantom. Okay. And in the morning when we're trading, for instance, if you took this where it broke the 1, 2, 3, like right across here, you've got almost 10 ticks. Just depends on how you trade it. See, it'll get that crooked midband here in just a second. Watch it. If that bar closes down, that is. We'll see if it does. The reason I don't trade this time of night, because when you trade first thing in the morning where the markets are moving, look at the difference in where we actually traded this morning on this silly thing. That was a trade call. That was a trade call. That was a beauty, by the way. That was a monster today. Okay. So why would a person want to trade like now when this was only, when I opened the room was at about right through here. That trade there, that trade there. And you could be pretty much done, but we still got this trade short earlier today. And we got this trade short after the room closed. I nailed that one myself, but that was a pretty good mid-band type trade. There was another phantom type trade. And then after the afternoon, see, you're just testing that support right there, but see how it crooked my mid-band now? So if you did short this where I teach, you could be short at about 79.94. Now, when we started looking at it, it had already done it, so you wouldn't have done it, but that is where you do it. See your high, your low, your lower high, lower low, breaks it, you box it. Okay, so we're going to do this tomorrow, and what I'd recommend would be to look at your, for instance, if this doesn't take out all this support through here, where's your actual line in the sand long short on the big move? High, low, higher high. This is like a line in the sand where they're going to take it down hard if they break that. But until they do, they could be getting a higher low here and take this up again. And we'll do a measured move on it when they do. Matter of fact, I'll draw a line tonight. And unless they break down hard, I'll bet you that we see this trade tomorrow. And then we're going to wrap. I'll bet you see this trade right here tomorrow. And I'll change the color of this. 81, 85, or 87, everybody remember. And we'll change the color of this, and then we'll see if it gets there sometime tomorrow. No, we don't need to save that color. We'll just save the chart. Okay. And look how sideways it is right now. Okay. Doesn't mean you couldn't be short from where I said you could. You know, once you get that 1, 2, 3, you can short these trades. But you got to always look to the left to trade the right. Until they take this area out right through here, they're not really heading down yet. This is amazingly right where I bought it this morning was 70. So that 70 is probably going to hold. Okay. Why my time axis does not show time? This is time. You're not. Oh, I see. You're not seeing that. Well, that's weird. I've got it on my charts. I'm seeing 1332 right here, right there. But I see on my little monitor that you don't see that. So I'll check into that and find out what's causing that. I apologize for that because you should be able to see the time because I am showing it on my charts. That's weird. Probably something with GoToWebinar cutting it off. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your evening. We'll do this again tomorrow. And let's just see if we don't get sometime tomorrow up in this area right here, because I just about bet you if it starts heading up again, that is, but it's got to start stair-stepping up to ever get up here. And we can just wait patiently till tomorrow morning when it may have already gone halfway and comes back and gives us a great retracement. We jump in and take it. And that's what we're looking for. Okay? Hope everybody enjoyed it. It was recorded. It will be up on the webinar website tomorrow. This help everybody a little bit? Measured moves are absolutely key to trading. If you get, and swings, you've got to look at swings. You know, for instance, if you took this little phantom trade right here and it comes up to this swing right here, see it on the left, and then it pulls back through it, get out of the trade. You don't have to wait for it to come all the way down to here. You know, when they take out these swings with a vengeance, that's when you stick with them. But if they tag them and come back down, just kill the trade. Always look to the left to trade the right, and you'll see your swings and your fibs on your charts. Okay, thanks again, everyone. It ran about 8 minutes over. Have a great rest of your evening. See you in the morning. And I think I got all the questions too. Quincy, you really want to look for 8 to 10 ticks at least on that first, but keep in mind that when I see a chart, I look to the left to trade the right, and I try to get those little measured moves. They can sometimes be 15, 20 ticks. You know, so 8 is not just, you know, dyed in the wool, so to speak. You got to kind of look at your swings to see where they're going. Okay, thanks again. And I will fix that axis somehow. I don't know what's caused it. Maybe GoToWebinar. All right, thanks again. See you in the morning.